There's people that know more than others, but we're still very early into that AI adoption era, right? So the best thing you can do for yourself is just upskill as much as possible.
And I'm a massive advocate of, like, in the modern era of the corporate space, people need to be visible, because people can't champion, people can't support what they don't see. So you've said it, and I'm going to say to the viewers as well, Emma Agree said it as well, that everyone needs to be back in the office, and I know that's been going viral recently as well.
I really want to make Forbes 30 under 30, man. 25 now, I've got about 5 years, 4 or 5 years. I said I want to do a football tournament. They said, yeah, we'll give you budget, go ahead and do it. We invited some different companies. Spotify were there, Amazon were there, Google were there.
We are back, and as you can see, we are on our new abode. This is not AI, this is our new setting, and we have got an exciting episode for you today. So welcome to the Behind the ERG podcast. If you are new, my name's Ed, I'm your host, and at Behind the ERG, we unpack the people, purpose, and lived experience of trailblazers and change makers who are creating and driving inclusion within the workplace and beyond. So I've got an amazing guest I'd love to introduce you today, someone who sits in the intersection of cloud innovation, community leadership, and technology. Our guest today is a cloud and AI specialist at one of the world's leading tech organizations, and they are also the partnership lead at their ERG, at their organization, which is known as Beam. Beyond that, because we talk about impact outside the workplace, they are also the founder and CEO of the Cloud Cup, an innovative tournament that takes place annually that has raised over £12,000 for social mobility causes and involves the teams at various organizations such as Salesforce, Microsoft, Google, Mastercard, and so forth. And they all come together in the summer for an amazing tournament that looks at creating pathways for young people and underrepresented groups at these organizations. So I've been told to reduce the intro, so I'm not going to say any more. I'm going to let our guests explain about themselves. But without further ado, I'd love to introduce our guest for today, Francis Nwofor. How are you, brother? You okay?
I'm good, thank you. How are you, man?
I'm good. Yeah. It's a Friday.
It's Friday, weather's nice.
Yeah, I said on LinkedIn the other day that we're currently in the period in the UK where we're at windy summer.
Yeah.
So it's summer until like midday, and then it starts getting super windy.
Yeah, I even wore like a little long sleeve yesterday, and it got cold around 9 p.m. I was thinking I should have taken a jacket, typical London. But yeah, man, weather's nice, so moods are high, man. I'll be honest. That. Good to be here.
On Behind the ERG, we always start with a formal like wellness check.
Of course.
So how are you, bro? How are you feeling?
That's a good question, man. Thank you, man. I'm good. Life's good. Like you said, weather's out, summer's around the corner, feeling good. Coming out of work office at 5 p.m. and it's still bright outside. Yeah. So toning, man. But yeah, life is good. Can't complain. Doing what I can do, thriving. Work is good. Family's good.
Love that.
Girlfriend's good. Can't complain, brother, man.
Love that.
Can't complain. That. Yeah.
And based on what you just said, I'm going to ask you a quick kind of like icebreaker question.
All right.
And like, what's like one moment that's happened recently that's made you think this is what I do? This is why I do what I do. Sorry. That's like, what's one moment that you thought of recently? You thought like, this is why I do what I do. This is why there's purpose and intention around the work I do. Of course. Whether that's in the workplace or outside.
Of course. So I've cared about social mobility for a very, very long time, since I was in secondary school, sixth form, etc. Obviously, you know me coming from Hackney. You know, it's always in me to sort of drive opportunities for myself and other people around me, right? So one moment recently, obviously, we talked about this as well, when the CEO of my organization posted me and my story around the work I do with social mobility, the work I do around sort of, you know, the ERG at my org as well, and the Cloud Cup also, and it kind of spotlighted me growing up, my family life. They came to Hackney to shoot a sort of, you know, day in the life for me as well. So that really made me think, and obviously the messages that I got after that when it previewed internally was amazing. People coming up to me saying, you know, we really resonate with your story. We're very glad that you're so open with telling your story as well. So that's one thing that made me think, you know, people actually care. You know, it just takes one person to sort of speak up about it, really be intentional, and be vulnerable at the same time, talk about how they grew up their life. And of course, if it hits home for someone else, then that's my job done. So, you know, the CEO taking recognition of what I do, posting it being posted on the official company platform as well, that really made me think like, yeah, I'm doing all right, you know, and I should continue the mission. So yeah, that was really fun, man. It was fun.
You're definitely doing more than all right, because my CEO is not posting me on LinkedIn. And let's start there, because
of course.
one of the things I'll say in terms of that, like you kind of went, you didn't kind of, you went LinkedIn viral. And
man, I won't say that.
and by the way, if your CEO is listening, like I'm still waiting for you to accept my request as well.
Listen,
man.
Me and him are locked in now, so I might, you know, I might tell him something.
You're besties now, but now on that, let's start from the beginning in terms of like what's your story? Because I know aspects of that video kind of talked about your journey into your organization, but let's talk about your story in terms of why social mobility is something that you're so passionate about, and how that's kind of like influenced your career and your journey into technology and everything else as well.
Of course. Yeah, born and raised East London, grew up there my whole life. Come from a family of three, including myself. So it's my mum, my sister at home. Obviously, low income background. Went to state school in Hackney, Mossbourne Community Academy. Went to the same sixth form as well. You know, I had a strong community. I had strong family and friends behind me. And that's all attributed to obviously the area that I'm from, right? And all of us were always driven, man. We were always driven. We knew we were going to make it someday. We knew we were going to make something of ourselves, but we didn't exactly understand how to get there or what opportunities were out there for us. So it was a lot of trial and error, if I'm being honest with you. You know, kudos to all my boys, because, you know, they were very strong in what they did, you know, coming from footballing backgrounds, and then they realized that they want to get into corporate, for example, etc. But again, like I said, we didn't exactly know how to get there. So we really had to drive and get it in for ourselves. And that's where the social mobility element comes into it, right? Many different sort of programs that I will talk about and touch on later that was just available out there, but we really needed to do the research and the digging. And again, I've got to pay homage to the older lot that grew up in sort of ahead of me as well, because, you know, they were the ones telling us when they see us out on the estate, what you lot doing this summer? Like, are you getting it in? Are you interning? What are you doing? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that kind of made us think like, look, I think, you know, there's definitely a direction and a pathway for us. But again, it takes one to sort of do it yourself. So you've got to put in the own work and find it. So that's why when we sort of talk about social mobility, that's why I care so much, because again, Hackney's not really considered an area full of opportunity, but it is full of talent, you know, and shedding that spotlight on that and really giving back and understanding, look, you know, someone or a counterpart that grew up in the same area as you may not get the same opportunities as you, but it's for you to then make sure that you help said person, and then that person will help another person, and then so on and so forth. And that's how we build that cycle of opportunity and help, right? I believe it doesn't end with me. That's how I was taught. That's how I was raised by my mum, my sister, two prominent women figures in my life. They always said, look, if you get somewhere and you make it somewhere, it's then your mission and your drive and your destiny to make sure that you do the same for someone else as well. So yeah, that's kind of why it hits so close to home for me, if I'm being honest with you.
And that's an important testimony to share in terms of kind of like a 360 moment, because you spoke about how kind of the elder people in your area when you was coming through were kind of able to kind of direct you to some extent in terms of like focusing on your professional development and developing your technical interests. And now you're effectively seen as that person in your community as well.
Of course.
So what I'm going to ask next is, in your video, you talked about remembering why you're here.
Yeah.
So what does that mean to you? And how do you kind of approach your responsibility now where you're kind of seen as that figure because of the visibility you have in your community, the visibility you have in the social media platforms with the stuff you're doing internally and with the Cloud Cup. So how do you approach that responsibility, and what kind of advice do you give to people who are from Hackney, who are looking at careers now in technology, in cloud, in AI, because of the journey that you've made?
Yeah. First of all, I'd say no dream is too big for anyone. That's first and foremost. And second thing I want to say is, obviously, the remember why you're here part. There's actually a story behind that I touched on in the sort of piece that they done within the company, right? So when I was at university, I done economics, right? And obviously I considered it very hard. And there was times where I just want to sack it off, or I'd just be like, nah, it's too much, etc. Going through the motions in uni, etc. You're away from home, don't really see your parents, your mom, your sister as often as you do, right? So I had a picture of both of them that sat just above from where I used to revise. And it was a picture of them, and then I put like a little note which said, remember why you're here. And what I consider that is my motivators, my drives, what gets me up in the morning, and who I really want to impress in this life. And obviously those two were top of the list. You know, I did it for them essentially. And people may say, go to university, get a good job, do it for yourself. But bro, I did it for my family, you know. I wanted to give back to them, because there's two things in life that my mum said: you don't have to pay me nothing, but I expect two things of you. Go to university, get a first class degree, get a house. That's all I want for you. And I said, only two things out of 25 years of living, after X amount of years spent taking care of me, X amount of money spent on me and my sister. You just want two things, and I can't make that, and I can't do that. Come on, man. I've got to make it happen.
Yeah.
So that is where the origin of the story came from. And I say this to other people, especially people who grew up in areas like Hackney or neighbouring boroughs like Newham, you know, other areas of South London, East London, West London, etc. Waltham Forest. Yeah. I say this because you need to understand what your drives are, what your motivators are, because those are the things that are going to keep you going even during the hard times. Because we all get hard moments, right?
Yeah.
Education, work, you know, you may want to build that business, but you don't have that sense of direction. You may want to do this, you may want to take a leap of faith, but then you're hesitant, you're procrastinating, etc. That's why I always say, remember what you're here for, because that is just going to get you up and say, I got to get it done. I just got to find a way.
Yeah.
And then obviously preaching this back to obviously my community and people in Hackney as well. If I'm going to flip that as well, remember why you're here as well. Again, I truly believe that everybody's purpose on this earth is to help one another. Above all, you may say that, yeah, I want to make X amount of money before I die, or I want to be a leader in this space, etc. Let's take that all away. Sole purpose in this life, I believe, is to help one another, because without each other, we are nothing. No one can do anything by themselves.
Yeah.
For you to get into the lovely position that you're in today, building, emerge, you know, being that figurehead in the ERG space. And I remember we were just at Black Monzo the other day, and Michael from Meta referred to you as Mr. ERG, and I truly believe that you are, you know what I'm saying? But again, you couldn't get there by yourself. You needed help.
Yeah, 100%.
Different people, mentors, family, friends, etc. So with that being said, remember why you're here. That's a mantra that I'll stick with forever, because again, remember why you're here, have your motivators, but also remember why you're here, because you're here to help other people at the same time. And that's what community is.
That's powerful. And to the people listening as well, I'll re-emphasize that in terms of when you're going through difficult or challenging periods in your life, career, remember why you're here and remember why you started.
Of course.
I'm going to go on to my next question,
For
and it kind of links back what you said in terms of you did economics, but now you're in tech, and we're both of Nigerian heritage.
Yeah.
And I know it was like for your upbringing, but mine was like law or medicine. They're the only two options that you're doing in university. But now there's kind of like more awareness of different careers around like creative careers, tech careers, and things of that nature. What I want to ask next is, as much as you can share about the social mobility program that you've done at your organization, but also who were the key figures in your kind of transition into technology? Because sometimes it takes one person to kind of believe in you, to empower you to be like, I can do this. Like I can go from finance into tech and be great at it as well.
Oh, it's a good question, you know. And there's so many people to name drop, and there's so many people that have played a critical part of my journey as well. I'd know one person.
If you forget any names, we'll
Yeah,
tag them in
you
the
know what I'm saying?
comments.
You got to cut it out a little bit because I don't want to get.
Yeah, yeah.
You know
So
what I'm saying?
yeah.
But I remember one person specifically, and you know her actually, Leslie from IBM.
Yes.
So I met her when I was back in university, so my second year actually. We got set up because she used to mentor for an organization called Reach Out.
Okay.
And I know the CEO of Reach Out. His name's Peter Blackwell. I've known him since I was young because I used to play for their football team.
Okay.
It was in my local area. So we got acquainted. And I was in a bit of a difficult period in the sense that I had literally just told my university that I don't want to do a 3-year course anymore. I want to do a 4-year course, so a placement year. Yeah. I didn't have anything in terms of applications. I didn't know where I wanted to go into. And I recently had just decided that I didn't want to go into investment banking anymore.
Okay.
So I was at kind of a pathway where I was just like, at this point, I'm lost. I don't even know what to do anymore. I thought I did, but clearly not. And then I remember I was in one of the rooms, and then I just got off the phone to Leslie. She was explaining to me what she does at IBM, etc. And at the end of the course, she was just like, you fit tech. Like, you can really make it into tech. I truly believe that, but you just have to be intentional. You got to figure out exactly what it is that in tech that you want to do, align it to your skills, and just take that leap of faith. And then I ended up, I think that evening, and this is all God's work, man. I ended up applying for a company called SAP at the time. It was a sales role. I had no clue what sales entailed.
Yeah.
Had a quick Google search. They said it's customer facing, presentations, solution selling, etc. I consider myself somewhat of a talkative guy to a certain extent. So I was just like, why not? Just let's do it. Applied, eventually got the role. And that really set me on the pathway to get into tech, because after that I was just like, okay, I think I see myself within this sort of industry, right? And then fast forward, getting the job at the company that I'm in right now, it kind of came 360 a little bit, because I remember we kept in touch over the years, and I met her for the first time in person at the BTA Awards very recently.
No way.
So I've known her since then, but it was actually the first time I've seen her in person at the BTA Awards. And then she said to me, do you remember our conversation? Like, when you first wanted to go into tech, you were a bit confused. And I was like, yeah. I said, you were one of the people that actually really believed in me and said, listen, make the jump and you'll get to where you need to be. And that was quite cool, because it's quite like a 360 moment, me meeting her in person, us still having that relationship. So that was really cool. That kind of set me off on where I am today. And then equally, there's a whole bunch of people internally that I've met, you know, across the years, across the months, that have really, really helped me kind of shape what my career is going to look like as well. And I really appreciate them. You know, just to name a few: Dawn Gabby. She used to be at the company that I am now as well. And I really consider her like a proper, like a mum figure, you know, and I think everyone needs that as well. And I feel like we'll touch on that a bit later, but mentors are key, man, because they see the good in you when you don't even see it in yourself. They see the potential in you when you can't even see it in yourself. So yeah.
That's powerful. And what I want to explore next is, you mentioned how you transitioned into tech, but I want to know more about what you actually do in technology now. Okay. So taking it back some form of like elementary basics, your title is Cloud and AI Specialist. For people who are new to technology, what is a Cloud and AI Specialist, and what kind of responsibilities are involved in that?
So in a nutshell, it is helping a certain subsection of customers on their sort of digital transformational journey across the space of cloud and AI, essentially. So this is inclusive of cloud infrastructure, for example, data, AI, app modernization, app innovation as well. So it's essentially ensuring that you can confidently and safely understand the trajectory of a customer's business and best advise them on how to move forward in this digital age as well. As you know, data, AI is very heavy and very prominent in the world right now. Everybody considers it sort of like a shiny toy. So it's your job to understand what the capacity and what the landscape of a customer's business looks like, and help them along that said journey to adopt and help them be ready for those sort of mass AI adoptions, etc. So it's a very interesting role. I work with, like I said, a subsection of mid-market customers across the space of professional services. So a lot of different companies, gaming companies, energy companies, what else? Financial services, for example. So yeah, it's a lot of conversating with senior decision makers, understanding exactly what I said, what their sort of data platform looks like, what their capacity for AI transformation looks like, what their infrastructure looks like. Have they got something on premise? Can you move that over to the cloud? What's the decision behind that? What are the blockers? And helping them along that sales cycle, essentially.
Yeah, and that's important. And on that topic, I'm probably going to focus more on AI rather than cloud. What would you say to people who are in the professional corporate space and they see AI as a threat rather than an enabler? And through the work you do, you spoke about digital transformations, what would you suggest to them in terms of how they can kind of like, not necessarily self-educate themselves on AI, but kind of see it as a positive in terms of the work they do rather than a replacement?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'd say, first of all, understand what AI is. I think a lot of people just throw out the term and obviously have bad connotations around it, but really understand what it is and what it's capable of doing. Secondly, be comfortable using it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people aren't, and they don't necessarily have to know how to understand and utilize said AI applications well. So for example, you have a lot of different, I think when we're talking about the basics of AI, it's probably chatbots, right? So your Copilots, your Google Geminis, your Claudes, for example, Anthropic Claude recently just got released. Understanding how to use it and how to use it well. I'd say in terms of basics 101, how to prompt really well, because that's going to set you off and give you the skills on how you can implement AI in your day-to-day. And the individuals that are implementing AI in their day-to-day and ensuring they're as efficient as possible are the game changers. They're going to be the ones that set themselves apart from the people that don't. And then the people that do use AI are the people that are going to be safe. And I think this whole notion about AI taking jobs and whatnot, and everyone should be scared and stuff like that. I wouldn't say that. It's used as a tool. It's used as an enabler in order for you to be as successful as possible. So make sure you're doing so. Make sure you're upskilling and really utilizing the resources around you. And it's so key that we're in a time where, quote unquote, nobody knows what they're doing, because it's still relatively new, right? There isn't any sort of established AI experts. There's people that know more than others, but we're still very early into that AI adoption era, right? So the best thing you can do for yourself is just upskill as much as possible. And there are free resources out there right now. YouTube is your best friend. Substacks are your best friends. Following AI leaders within that space across different companies, across the big tech, smaller tech, startups. Follow them and understand what they're doing to set themselves apart from anyone else, and you'll be just fine. You don't even need to worry about if AI is going to take your job, because you're going to be more than comfortable with implementing it and showing someone else how to implement it as well.
Perfect. And I think that's important in terms of people should self-educate or look at resources so much available in terms of understanding AI 100%. And how it can be utilized for good. I'm going to loop back to the topic around social mobility. Yeah. And I'm going to talk about the LinkedIn viral video. What I want to ask is, for people who are working in the tech space and you're working for one of the world's leading organizations in that, how do people build their like corporate tribe within their organization? And that'll probably lead into your role in your ERG. And how does someone even get on the radar of their like CEO? Because like these companies can be so big. Yeah. So to come from Hackney, to transition from finance into technology, and then to get endorsement from your CEO, that's such a powerful story. So yeah, just tell us a bit more in terms of like how you kind of like found your feet in your organization, how you was kind of able to kind of build like allies and advocates in your kind of like community and get involved in ERGs as well.
Good question. I say above all, first thing I'll say is just be a nice person.
Yeah.
That's just plain and simple. People don't work with, or people don't like, speaking with people that are just not genuinely good people, right? So that's the first thing. Just be a nice person. And then I'd say, secondly, in terms of landing my feet, I think one thing I'd done well was really understanding what's out there for me and where my passions lie and who controls that internally as well. So I remember one of my buddies, when I first came into the role, his name's Will Pollard. So he kind of trained me up for the first year and a half or two. And obviously he was teaching me the day job, the basics, the fundamentals, how to really succeed. But then he said, outside of that, you need to be visible. And I didn't really understand what that meant. I was like, you know, how can you be visible? How can you get on people's radar? You know, I feel like I'm bothering people if I just constantly Teams them and try and get a message or some time in their calendar, for example. He said, that doesn't mean that. You need to find your passion, find what really makes you tick outside the day job, and try and drive that internally. Just see where you land with it and you'll be fine. So he asked me, what do I like to do? So I said, above all my hobbies and interests, you know, I write poetry, I play sports, stuff like that. He said, is there anything else? I said, I'm very big on like mentoring, on like social mobility. I was like, you know, I mentor like a couple people that are in secondary schools, sixth forms, etc. I've had experience doing it as well. He said, that's it. He said, drive that and really own that and find the people who are just like you internally in that space as well. So I'd say that is a good, and I've been at my firm for almost 3 years now. That's been a good almost 3 years of finding my tribe, like you say, finding my community and the people who really care about those kind of stuff and feel the same way that I do about it as well. And then naturally you'll start to understand that these people that are in the same space as you, same community, they're more tenured, you know, they've got 10 years worth of experience under their belt. They've got 20 years worth of experience. They might be a senior leader. They might be a director. They might be a head of resource, head of HR, for example. And then you've got relatively an early career individual that's coming in, showing the same spark, the same drive as that person. They're going to start taking notice of you. They're going to be like, oh, you know, I've been seeing him on a couple calls. I've been seeing him speak up on this town hall. I've been seeing him, you know, do this initiative, you know. And then once you make your feelings clear as well, like what do you want to do within this space? I think that's very key as well, because I was very big on, you know, finding out who were the decision makers within that community and saying, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, and this is what I want out of this community. This is what I want to include in this sort of community as well. And then slowly but surely, and this takes time, by the way, it's not an overnight thing to get to this point. And I still don't think I'm anywhere near where I want to be or where I think I'm going to be. I just started dropping little nuggets like, can I get included in that? You know, can I be brought into this? I really want to do a speaking engagement. Can I, you know, assist on that, for example? And people started taking notice. And then I think the step up for me was taking a leadership role. So obviously I do the partnerships lead at my Behind The ERG. And then on that as well, I recently, so last October, September, I became the co-lead of the social mobility London chapter within my organization as well. And that really set the bar for me, because that meant I could drive my own initiatives alongside my other co-lead as well. I had like a little V team as well that was full of individuals that were just as, you know, engaged and, you know, willing to do stuff as myself. And then I think that gave me the creative freedom to do what I wanted to do. So for example, as you know, very big on football. I love football. So I, alongside one of my colleagues, Ali Minter and Emmanuel Boateng, we created like a football foundation pillar where we would regularly seek out football foundations, work with them on some work experience, insight days, and overall engagements. And that took the liking of some senior leaders, and all like, do you want to jump on this? Do you want to jump on that? So I think it's just that collective, you know, kind of time period where it's just like, you know, I emphasize interest in this field. I'm interested in it. You know, aside from the day job, this is what I really like as well. And people started taking notice and bringing me on certain stuff. And over time, that's where it kind of culminated to what you see today.
Yeah, a lot of gems dropped in that. And I'll probably pick out two. The first one is around kind of like using your platform to kind of create your own initiative. So you spoke about creating that football pillar that didn't exist before you started doing that, and being able to kind of link it to an organizational business benefit in terms of supporting young people in that space from your organization is powerful. And then the second thing is around visibility, And I'm a massive advocate of like in the modern era of the corporate space, people need to be visible because people can't champion, people can't support what they don't see. So you've said it, and I'm going to say to the viewers as well. Emma Agree said it as well, that everyone needs to be back in the office. And I know that's been going viral recently as well. But yeah, visibility. So if you see me posting on LinkedIn, just like it.
Listen,
we're just trying to be visible. I know
if it's not LinkedIn, internally, please
apologies,
something.
Sorry.
Do something.
Other platforms exist as well.
You know?
So, but yeah, be visible. Share what you're doing, and it's not bragging because your achievements need to be showcased so people, because you never know who you might reach, and you never know what it might lead to. Exactly. And on the point of like leading to opportunities and connecting with people, you touched on it on the answer just now, but I want to ask a bit more about it. So what is a partnership lead in an ERG, and like what does that entail, and like if you can share, like what partnerships are you particularly proud of?
So it's kind of, well, from my org anyway, it's kind of that external reach with other organizations, building that pathway, building that partnership between other neighboring firms, right? Because again, I go back to the point I made earlier, we can't do stuff alone. And internally, we can only go so far within the stuff that we do as well. Branching out and sort of reaching out and engaging with other sort of companies as well is equally as important, because it's unlocking opportunities, right? So for example, there's the Black Nexus. You know it as well as I do as well. That's the sort of makeup of all the sort of tech companies, big tech companies in London. We meet, I wouldn't say regularly, but maybe quarterly, maybe something like that, where different companies host like events, panel talks, larger networking mixes, for example. So that's what partnership looks like from an ERG perspective, and also internally as well. So engaging with other ERGs aside from R1 as well, trying to understand where, what we can do in terms of, different events, collaboration efforts, etc., that kind of thing. So it's from an external perspective, but also an internal perspective as well. And then, just opportunity as well. So, for example, we have, with every sort of major tech firm, there's always sort of like redundancies, for example, and people leaving and going on to new pastures, for example. So the setup behind obviously having that external and internal partnerships as well, and making sure that no one goes unleft, essentially. So they have the ability to sort of reach out to a neighboring sort of company and say, this person has left. Can they come in via, your sort of talent recruitment pathway, or internally as well? There's always like a signpost, like this person is about to leave, or this person wants to get a new role. Is there any other roles within the sort of org that they may be interested in? And then that's how we sort of work within that sort of partnership remit, right? That's kind of how it works.
That's powerful. And I wanted to ask about the difference between like embedded and productive partnerships against performative ones. But before I do that, what I want to ask you is, there's going to be a number of people listening who are going to be like, I would love to connect with you. What do you look for in those partnerships? As in, so if I'm a grassroots organization or community group or a diverse business or whatever it may be, what are the kind of like traits, values that you look for in those organizations before you kind of like partner or work with them or explore that conversation?
It's a good question. I think good values, good intent as well. That's the big one for me. So what are you doing? What are you trying to drive? What are you trying to accomplish as well? You get a fair few that hear the name and just think like, sponsorship, monetary, money. I'm like,
seeing them dollars, pounds, naira.
I said, brother, I wish I could help you, bro. I can't even help myself at this point, But yeah, good morals, good intent, good values, I think. And the key to my heart is social mobility. So you'll always get me at that point, So yeah, I think that's the big three for me. And really understanding where my company and yours can really collaborate and work, for example. And also being understanding of how to really get to where you want to be as well. Because you can understand for quite a big organization, there's a lot of bureaucracy. It takes time to get to certain places, and it takes time to get certain eyes on certain things as well. So really trying to understand, okay, let's start small, let's start regional, let's start with you and try and build together. And then eventually, when, there's successes or there's, there's initiatives that really take off, for example, you can then start getting the right people in the room and introducing them to said people and saying, you know, this is the good work that we've been doing with, you know, X company. You know, is there a sort of pathway that we can sort of carve out for a broader partnership, for example? So it's patience at the same time, and not really expecting everything to be just done as if and when, you know. So I'd say that's the big ones for me.
Yeah, that's powerful. So patience, alignment with values, and a link to what the organization is trying to achieve. And to the people listening, I will say a lot of this information is available in annual reports or even on company websites. You can go on there, see their mission, and you should do that due diligence in advance before reaching out, and you'll be surprised how that helps in order to kind of accelerate that conversation from something that's like effectively a gesture or like a kind of like a charitable thing into something that's actually organizational leading and something that has an impact that extends beyond the initial pilot or the work you want to do. You spoke about leading initiatives, and I think it will be an injustice to have this conversation without talking about the initiative, the Cloud Cup. And I know personally the amount of effort you put into evolving that over the last couple of years, from something that was initially getting ERGs together to raise money for a good cause, and now it's like a annual staple in the ERG calendar. So I'm going to ask you about that, but I'm going to start off, because not everyone knows why it's called Cloud Cup or what cloud is. So if we start with that, in terms of, from your perspective, how would you define what cloud is to people who are new to that term?
So cloud is obviously stems from a technology kind of word. So I'd say when we're talking about cloud, the easiest analogy I give is think about an iPhone, right? So you have an iPhone, you may buy a 128 storage, 128 gigabytes storage. You may use up all that storage, for example. There's no more storage left on the phone. It gives you constant notifications around, you know, you don't have any storage, you don't have any space left. Do you want to buy additional ones? And those ones aren't embedded in your phone. It's not in the hardware. It's in the cloud, for example. So when we're talking about cloud, like Apple iCloud, for example, you get things that are saved, synced, and backed up to the cloud. So that's the best way I can put the cloud in a sense, in an analogy form anyway. So that's what we mean from that perspective. And then equally, when we talk about the Cloud Cup, it's kind of like a play on words a little bit. It's not original, I'll be honest with you. So cloud companies, for example, when we're talking about, you know, neighboring ones, they will sell SaaS solutions, for example, etc. So initially, actually, the Cloud Cup was meant to be just a invitational sort of tournament between the neighboring tech firms around us, especially ones within the cloud space, hence why it's called the Cloud Cup. So it started off in 2024, so just a bit of background to it. Oh, maybe I should start with what is the Cloud Cup. I know you mentioned it in the intro, but it is the annual inter-industry and cross-sector football tournament.
And I'm going to interrupt you there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You had to pause on that because it's grown. Because like you said, initially it was cloud. And then I know you got some, like, is it Talk Nice?
Oh, Talk Nice Studios.
And now it's grown. So that's why the remit's kind of expanded.
It's grown past that.
I'll let you continue in terms of like tell us more about the story.
Yeah, massively. So it shouldn't even be called Cloud Cup anymore because it's grown massively. So yeah, it started off as a Black History Month initiative actually in 2024. So I think we obviously came into contact around that time as well. So I was tasked with doing something for Black History Month by my ERG. They said, what do you want to do? Shout out Angela and Dadine. I said, I want to do a football tournament. They said, yeah, we'll give you budget. Go ahead and do it. So I had two of my colleagues, Zolfa and Amber. We just set out to do a small scale football tournament, if I'm being honest with you. We had a bunch of different contacts from other ERGs as well. And we set out on a mission. We booked a venue. It was in Harris Academy in Tottenham, very small scale football pitch. We invited some different companies. Spotify were there, Amazon were there, Google were there. And then we just played like a little 7-a-side tournament.
The big names.
It was proper, big names. It was proper grassroots, man. I'll be honest with you. Balls were getting flown over because there was like a scaffolding behind the fence as well. Balls were getting lost. We went for a Costco run just before the tournament just to get food.
Yeah.
There was medals, there were trophies, but it was so wholesome. Like it was great. There was a lot of people there. People brought their friends, their family, etc. It was such a nice vibe. And I remember after that, shout out my guy Dawit from Google. He came up to me and he was just like, "You need to make this bigger, like an annual thing. People want to play football and they want to donate as well." So I got pondering. I was just like, "Oh, how do I do that? What does scaling look like?" You know, and I think that's always the challenging part. What does scaling look like? So I had a conversation with James Bailey from ProPlay about his services to do like tournament organization, for example. Had a chat with Dawit and Sydney from Google. We ended up going halves in it, so we co-hosted the 2025 edition.
Yeah.
So that one is the kind of start of the expansionary kind of era of Cloud Cup. So we made it bigger. We had more teams. We had 16 teams in 2025. We dedicated that to one charity at the time, which was Urban Synergy, which is a social mobility charity based out in South London. So they work with about 9-year-olds to about 24-year-olds, helping them get into sort of corporate careers, mentoring opportunities, etc., workshops, all of that kind of good stuff. And then, yeah, we brought along some good teams, some good names. Google were there again, Mastercard, Salesforce, AvePoint, Talk Nice Studios, AG Europe, Moneybox. They were all there. Ended up raising £12,000 in 2025, which is a massive step up from 2024. It only raised £400 in 2024. Wow. So massive step up in about 9 months. That was such an amazing day. Everyone came out to New River Stadium in Haringey. Weather was nice. It was mid-July. You know, spirits were high, competitiveness. People were just there watching. Oh, it was amazing, man. And then after that, again, what does scaling look like? How do we get this out to the masses? What else do we do, for example, which led to the 2026 edition this year, which is happening June 18th. We managed to get in contact with the Tottenham Hotspur Foundation, and that's off the back of our conversation as well. I don't know if you remember this, but you were like, you know, you should start aligning this with foundations, for example, really get into the sporting element of things. So I managed to get in touch with the Tottenham Hotspur Foundation. They loved what we're doing, so we're working with them as one of the dedicated charities and obviously doing it at their training ground. And then the theme for this year is 9 to 5ers versus 5 to 9ers. Okay. So it's the battle of the corporates versus the creatives, for example. So we're doing 10 corporate firms, 10 creative firms, essentially battling out on the pitch, raising more money for social mobility charities. Can't say the names of who's participating right now, but it's some good names there, I'll be honest with you, and it's going to be a very, very good day. And then we hope to raise maybe double from what we made in 2025, which is an achievable target for us as well. So yeah, that's how it's kind of evolved. And then pre that as well, we're also doing a networking mixer this year as well.
Okay, nice.
So a week before the tournament, on the 11th of June, we're doing a networking mixer where we're going to bring together the children of all the charities that are participating to hear 2 panel talks, 1 corporate panel talk from corporate experts and a creative panel talk from creative experts. So that's about demystifying the job roles for the young individuals, letting them understand how to get into said roles, because you know, not everybody wants to be in law, not everybody wants to be in finance, for example, or maybe they do. Some people want to be in content creation. Some people want to be a DJ, for example. Some people want to be, I don't know, in sport. So it's all about demystifying that job roles and making it, you know, achievable for them, making them understand that you can get into these roles as well. So yeah, that's the premise of the Cloud Cup, and hopefully we can expand for years to come, man.
Thank you for what you're doing with that. To go from 400 to 12,000, and then the aspirations even bigger this year for 20,000 plus. It's powerful. And by the way, when I said connect with foundations, everyone but Tottenham, by the way, I'm an Arsenal fan, so that wasn't what I was suggesting, but now big up Tottenham for supporting what you're doing, and really excited for your plans. Just before I go on to some more questions about the Cloud Cup, can you just tell us more about in terms of dates? So you mentioned the 11th of June is for the mixer.
Networking. Yeah.
Is that available to everyone? Is that invite only? Or?
No, so that's invite only, unfortunately. So kids of the charity, and then we're going to have some people across the industry there for them to network with as well. So we've got a good host of speakers, panelists, across the creative space and the corporate space as well. And then again, the tournament day, invite only, unfortunately this time. We do have aspirations to open up to the general public in latter years as well. So we're going to work towards that, definitely. But for now, it's the participating companies and obviously their spectators as well. But it will all be recorded. It will all be on social media. We will do snippets, reels, TikToks, everything, and show you what it is on the day. and how to get involved for next year and how to keep in touch with the community that we're building as well.
Yeah. And on that point, so we'll share the socials in the comments, but so how can people connect with you to like learn about how they can get involved in the Cloud Cup, either that's from a sponsorship perspective or helping you scale or even starting talks around planning for 2027?
Yeah,
What's the best way for them to do that?
Best way is via email. So the official Cloud Cup at gmail.com. I'm sure it'll be somewhere.
We'll make sure it's correct before we put it in the comments. You know, we don't want you sending like a mailbox and the guy's like, yeah, just send that funds to me. It's fine. We'll make it sure it's correct. Yeah.
Making sure that you're emailing us, connecting with myself or the sponsorship lead, Jasmine Beckford, as well. So she'll be well in place to talk about how we can obviously progress in terms of collaborations and sponsorships in the future as well. So emailing us or DMing us on Instagram, anything is applicable. Obviously connecting with myself or Jasmine via LinkedIn as well. So yeah, we're more than happy to have a conversation. We're always looking to for new ideas on how to really set this off and really make this a staple annual event across the board for the networking mixer and the tournament day, and really build up that community so that we can obviously give back to the social mobility charities within the UK and the young children as a result as well.
Yeah, that's powerful. And I'm going to put two questions into one.
Yeah.
The first one is, what does success look like for the Cloud Cup in 2026?
Yeah.
So after you've done the mixer and you've done the tournament this year,
yeah,
outside of obviously the fundraising targets,
mm-hmm.
and like how big do you want to take it? Are you looking at like Cloud Cup like US or Cloud Cup Africa or Europe or how far are you trying to go with this?
Yeah, so the first question is what does success look like, right? Yeah. Success looks like for me, the young people that are in the room, the young people that charities that we're working with, really taking advantage of what we fundraise. So of course, from a corporate perspective, we're donating to Amos Bursary. So what that looks is that funds directly being funneled into that charity, right? And we're talking about upskilling, for example. So when we're talking about corporate careers, right, we're talking about them being embedded straight into an AI first world, a digital world, right? So my idea of success looks like those funds being channeled into workshops, for example, insight days, office visits, for example, certifications across the board, your Amazon certificates, your Azure fundamental certificates, Microsoft certificates, for example, and them really upskilling their young kids and getting them ready to go into these corporate roles. Then from a creative standpoint, we're donating to Small Green Shoots. So those funds being channeled into anything that they want to do from a workshop perspective, getting them into, different creative spaces. We're talking Sony Studios, Universal Music, for example, making them open and understanding that those kind of roles are achievable for them across the board, from a music standpoint, from a sporting standpoint, everything. And then for the Tottenham Foundation, it's really going into increasing and promoting grassroots football across the board. So when we talk about grassroots football in London, we're talking about the Mecca, Hackney Marshes, for example. So getting them within these spaces, providing training sessions, and also funneling those children into, the likes of different corporations, for example, letting them understand that post-football as well, there's more out there for you. There's corporate careers, there's creative careers as well. So it's kind of that cyclical kind of idea, right? And it's all for the children. And then additionally to that, success would look like some of the kids of the charities getting, roles at some big companies across the board, both corporate and creative as well. So that's what success looks like for me. And then to your second question,
scaling.
What was that as well? Scaling.
How far you want to take it?
As far as possible, man. You know me, I'm a big thinker, I'm a big dreamer. So like you said, Cloud Cup USA, working with some social mobility charities out there, working with some MLS teams, for example, Chicago Fire, LAFC, for example, trying to do the same thing, but overseas, because social mobility is thriving in London, but it's also needed in America, for example. Africa, we're talking about, promoting grassroots football up there. We're talking about understanding what the capacity looks like for social mobility there, getting young kids into corporate roles, getting young kids into creative roles as well. I don't really see, we're talking about Nigerians, for example, West Africans, East Africans with thriving in music, but, it's not always be an artist. It's sometimes be an artist manager or be someone in talent, for example, or be a promoter. So it's kind of enabling those careers and putting that at the forefront as well. Maybe working with the likes of CAF, for example. That's my big dream there. And then also within the UK as well, I want Cloud Cup to be as big as the Sidemen charity match, man. Really and truly.
And they share some amazing stats around how much they raised.
It was amazing, man.
The viewership as well.
6 million, I think it was that they raised.
Yeah, it's really challenging, like Soccer Aid and those type of initiatives. So,
exactly.
So yeah, big up Jordan and Victor and the whole team.
They've done a great job on that, honestly. And then the networking mix, of course, making that as big as something as Black Tech Fest, for example. Shout out Ashley.
Yeah.
You know, getting a lot of kids from different social mobility charities across the UK to come together to understand what roles are out there for them as well. When we're talking about young kids, I think NEET, for example, there's over like 1 million unemployed young individuals. I really want to eradicate that. I want them to understand what kind of roles are out there for them. I want to put a spotlight on early careers. So wholeheartedly, that's my vision for the Cloud Cup moving forward, man.
Big dreamer,
man, of course.
Yeah. And regardless of what you're doing in life, always aim big and try to dream big.
Big facts.
And try to break that glass ceiling and aim for the stars, as they say.
Facts.
We've discussed a lot, and there's still so much more we can discuss around your role as a school governor, a Cardinal Pole, the stuff you do around mentoring and everything else. What I want to do is just give you an opportunity. Are there any like mentoring schemes or programs you just want to shout out quickly for our guests?
100%.
And then we'll wrap up with a challenge for our next guest in terms of either a question or challenge that you'd want them to either respond to.
100%. So I'll do it quick fire. I won't take up too much time. But please do your own research and due diligence as well. Please really research
that
these charities,
important.
Man. No, literally, it's important, man.
My journey's not your journey.
Do you know what I'm saying? But please, man, these are good organizations that you should really take notice into. So Amos Bursary, shamelessly, Tottenham Hotspur Foundation, of course, and Small Green Shoots, Sutton Trust, Social Mobility Foundation as well, Urban Synergy. There's so much more. I can't even think off the top of my head.
If you remember any of the others, then we'll put them in the comments as well.
I'll link them.
So they don't feel isolated. And
no, 100%. I feel bad for even forgetting a few. But those are the main ones that I've been brought, the brokerage as well. Those are the ones that I've been brought up with as well. Those are the ones that I've been a part of. And they're very good organizations. You know, without those, I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in today as well. So please look into them and try and do, donation matches at your firms, volunteering times, etc. Like really take note of them, please.
No, thank you. And this conversation has been so insightful in terms of not only how you've kind of changed stereotypes around being a tech leader coming from Hackney, which is not traditionally aligned with technology, but is more aligned with kind of music and culture, but also how you're now using your platform to help others as well. 100%. And I think that's really powerful. I'm going to ask one last question, which is we do like a pass the mic segment on this podcast. So based on either your own journey or just something that you think is important, what's one challenge or question you would like to set for our next guest?
Ooh, it's a good question. I would say, what are you doing to ensure the knowledge that you have doesn't end with you?
That's an important question to ask.
So what are you doing?
And very quickly, just to wrap up, you've spoken a lot about the initiatives you're doing. What about yourself? Like, what does the future look like for you, or in terms of your big dreams, as much as you can share?
Big dreams, man.
What is something that's on the horizon for you that you're quite keen to explore or achieve, or that you think would be good to share publicly, that maybe people might hear it and be like, this is something they can work with you on?
I definitely got some personal accomplishments that I want to kind of set out for. One is I really want to make Forbes 30 under 30, man.
Okay.
25 now. I've got about 5 years, 4 or 5 years. That's one of my personal goals, really and truly. I'd say that's the biggest one for me, because that is sort of the pinnacle. And then I'll tell you this. I'm someone who doesn't really take in what they do or expect anything from that. I just do what I do. I love, I do it because I care. And I've had friends that have told me that's not good, to the point where I don't even celebrate my own birthday. I'm just like, it's fine, man. It's move on, I don't really take in what I've accomplished and what I've achieved. And maybe that's obviously something I need to unpack myself. But the likes of my family, my friends, my girlfriend, she's been pushing me to really understand what it is that I've accomplished and what I do for other people as well. So I remember she asked me if there's one thing that you want to accomplish, like what is it? What is your personal goal, an accolade that you'd want? I'd say that's probably that one, if I'm being honest with you, because then at least I know I'm on track, you know, I'm doing what I can, you know. So I'd say that, but above all, nothing really, man. I'm just gonna continue as I am, you know, walk with Christ, walk with faith, and do what I can for others. And hopefully, man, God sees my true heart. He sees my true intentions, and everything will come back around to me, honestly.
Amen. That's powerful. Thank you for that. And on the topic of Forbes 30 under 30, I just need to shout out Maz from YouTube, who made the list for Europe this year.
Big up
Dr.
Laddie
V,
from Black Sport as well. Laddie's doing his thing, man.
Laddie,
Black in sport.
Sabomi,
Yeah.
and also shout out Stacey from Channel 4,
All of them, man. They're
who were
smashing
also
it.
on the list. And hopefully in the next 5 years,
Amen.
we'll be able to shout you out. I'm
Forbes.
getting no shout anytime soon. I'm way over 30.
So 40 under 40, you know what I'm saying?
It might
That's
have to be 50
the
under
card,
50
Aye.
at this stage.
Listen.
But thank you, honestly, for giving us your time, for sharing your journey
man.
so transparently, and for talking about the things you're doing to kind of empower the next generation. Really excited about the Cloud Cup. My football skills, the less I talk about it, the better. But if I can support us as a spectator, wherever it may be, I would love to as well. And as Francis has shared, if you want to support that or get involved in future Cloud Cups, or even look at maybe taking the Cloud Cup to your region, if it's the Midlands or Greater Manchester or wherever it may be, or Cardiff or Scotland or Northern Ireland, then reach out to them and we'll share those details in the comments for you to do that.
100%.
Thank you once again for your time.
Really appreciate
Super
having me, man.
appreciate it.
Thank you so
and
much.
that's another episode from Behind the ERG. Please make sure you subscribe, like, and share, especially with the topics that Francis talked about. So if you've got a young person that's looking to get into technology, please share that with them. If you've got someone that's looking to get into football or looking at partnerships with a big tech company, share that with them as well. Or just share it with someone who just needs to hear a great conversation about someone who has changed the narrative and has an inspiring story of how they've been able to kind of transition from different disciplines and use their platform for social good and to help others as well. Perfect. So Behind the ERG on all socials. Please continue to like, subscribe, and also let us know in the comments if there's anyone that you want to see on future episodes. That's a wrap from me. Thank you for tuning in. Stay blessed, and thank you for supporting Behind the ERG.